Chapter 35. The final chapter. Winter semester was already a little bleak. If Graves Glen was at its absolute best in October, January was the flip side of that coin, the time of year when Vivi started wondering if she should move to a beach or something. The snow was never that bad, and it could even be really pretty when you were watching it from a porch up in the mountains, the snowflakes floating through the bare trees. It was less pretty when you were sludging through a couple of inches of the stuff mixed with mud as you made your way to work. Grimacing, she scraped off her boots before walking into the history department. January Suwix, she heard Ezichi call from her office as she passed, and Vivi ducked her head in. Agreed. But I hear you finally got the tenure track gig. Congratulations. Unlike Vivi, Ezzy had her PhD, and had been stuck in the lecturer trenches for ages. So Vivi was genuinely thrilled for her, and Ezzy was too, if her smile was anything to go by. And congratulations to you too, Ezzy said, coming up from her desk. Here you're taking on some extra classes in the folklore department? Asterisk. Vivi nodded, already feeling a little flutter in her stomach at the idea. After Halloween, she'd gone to have a talk with Dr. Arbuthnot about what had happened, the change to Graves Glen's magic. She had assumed the woman would be angry, or at least snotty about all of it. To her surprise, she'd been offered a job. As of this semester, she was teaching 2 classes over on the witchery side of things, a history of magic course focusing on Graves Glen's past, and a class on ritual magic. And she'd even bought a new scarf. But just one. Saying goodbye to Ezzy, Vivi headed to her office, flicking on the tea kettle as soon as she got in, and setting her bag down on her desk. Reaching inside, she pulled out a heavy book, its cover bluttered leather, the title stamped in aging gold foil on the cover. It was a history of Wales as written by a Welsh witch over 100 years ago. She'd gotten it in the mail at Yule, no return address, just a note scrawled in Rhys's handwriting. For your office. X. No Cariad, no I miss you, but he was thinking of her, and Chai was chuff. Or at least she told herself it was. Shaking her head, Vivi made herself a cup of tea and fired up her computer. By the time she was done typing up notes for her afternoon history lecture, she realized she was due over at the witchery side of things to meet with Dr. Arbuthnot. And sighing, she shoved her arms back into her coat and twisted her scarf around her neck. It was quieter on that side of campus, and the snow was a little less trampled as she walked into the main building, her nose wrinkling slightly at the scent of patchouli. Seriously, was there someone she could talk to about that? But she made her way down the hall, glancing at doors as she went. Other than the classier furnishings, it wasn't all that different from the history building. Same rows of doors, same frosted windows with names stenciled in black. A. Parsons, J. Brown, C. Acevedo, R. Penhallow. Vivi was already past the door before it registered, and she slowly turned and looked back at it, her heart hammering. It couldn't be. It had to be someone else, some other Penhallow. First name starting with R. Rhys probably had a cousin, Richard Penhallow, or Rebecca Penhallow. But she found herself reaching for the doorknob anyway. Vivi knew it was horribly rude to just walk into someone's office without knocking, but she had to shut down this stupid light flutter of hope in her chest before it took fight. Door opened, revealing an office that didn't seem all that different from Vivi's own. Small, 1 window, desk and a lamp, a filing cabinet, a bookshelf. The only difference was that the shelf was empty, and there was nothing on the walls, and there, sitting behind the desk, grinning up at her, was Rhys. She almost wondered if she'd walked through some kind of spell when she came in here, or if this was a trick the witches were playing on her, some kind of faculty hazing thing. But then he stood up and walked over to her, as warm and real as anything, as he gently shut the door behind her and said, "Hello, Cariad." There were a million things she wanted to say to him, to ask him, but all that came out was, "You have an office." "I do, and a desk, even so." "And you're here. Notice that. Did you why?" Blowing a breath, Rhys put his hands in his pockets and shrugged. "Well, you see, I went back to Wales, business as usual. Only the thing was, one was completely fucking miserable. Just the saddest bastard you've ever seen in your life. So sad, in fact, that Wells told me I was a sad bastard, and as he is president of the Sad Bastards Club, I found this very distressing." Vivi's face was aching, and she realized it was because she was smiling. Rhys was smiling too as he continued. "And so I thought what I could do to make myself less of a sad bastard, and I realized the only thing for it was to be with you, or at the very least, near you. And it turns out that when a college is named after your family home, they're fairly willing to let you teach the odd class, so here I am. What about your business?" Vivi asked, still feeling a little dazed, and Reese nodded. Still got it. Can run it from here, no problem, but Bowen said this moment needed a big gesture. ... I mean, I decided this moment needed a big gesture and received zero help from my brother at all. Besides, he went on, I wanted to prove to you that I was serious about this, about staying here, putting down roots. This isn't a lark, Vivian. He stepped closer and Vivi breathed him in, her hands already going to his chest, where his heart beat a steady tattoo under her palms. I realized that uprooting my life and moving to Georgia for a woman might fall into the reckless and ill-thought-out category, but the thing is, I'm very much in love with that woman. He leaned in a little closer, lowering his voice. That woman is you, by the way. Wanted to make sure that was clear. Vivi laughed, even as she felt sudden tears sting her eyes. Okay, good. Because I really can't compete with Aunt Elaine for your heart. My baking is atrocious. Your only fault. Reese took a deep breath, reaching out to cup her face, his fingers resting on the back of her head as he looked into her eyes. I love you. So very, very much. And I know that I'm flippant sometimes, or make a joke rather than say the truth, but I want you to know that you're everything to me, Vivian. Everything. Leaning in, he rested his forehead against hers, eyes closing as Vivi reached up and put her hands on his wrists. You've had my heart from the moment I saw you on that bloody hillside, and I hate that I wasted 9 years without you, but I'm not wasting a single second more. If you need to be here, then I need to be here. Simple as that. Stepping back, Vivi looked into those blue eyes. Reese might have been the fool, but maybe she was too, because she realized that the image, a person walking merrily off a cliff, wasn't necessarily about being reckless. It was about taking a leap and trusting something. Someone would catch you. I want to go to Wales with you, she blurted out, and Reese's brow furrowed in confusion. Did you miss the part about how I've moved here? Laughing, crying, Vivi shook her head. No, I mean, it doesn't have to be either. Or, you here or me in Wales. We can do both. We can have both. And it's going to be messy and hard. Sometimes, but it will be worth it. Because I love you too. You've had my heart just as long, and I trust you with it. And as soon as she said it, she knew it was true. She trusted Reese with her heart. Reckless, capricious Reese, who glided through life, but who loved her and had proved it over and over again. The Fool and the Star, just like Gwyn's cards had shown. Leaping off cliffs and shining steadily, opposites who couldn't live without each other, who didn't have to. And that, Vivi had to admit as Reese leaned in to kiss her, might be the most magical thing of all.